My child, stop for a moment, please, before you scroll away, before your mind drifts back to all the things waiting for you, before you tell yourself that this is just another message. Listen to me, because this message did not find you by accident. You may think you chose this moment. You may think you simply happened to stop here. But I need you to understand something. I have been trying to reach your heart for longer than you realize. And today, before this day ends, I need you to hear my voice. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life finally becomes easier. Right now, because something inside you has been carrying more than it was ever meant to carry. I see it, even if nobody else does. I see the weight you have been dragging through each day. I see the exhaustion hiding behind your smile. I see the battles you never explain, the thoughts you never say out loud, the fears you keep locked away where nobody can find them. And, my child, I know something that you do not know. You are closer to a breaking point than you realize. Not because you are weak, not because you have failed, but because you have been trying to survive without allowing yourself to rest. You have been carrying burdens that were never meant to stay on your shoulders this long. And little by little, they have been draining your strength. You tell people you're fine. You tell yourself you'll get through it. You tell yourself that tomorrow will somehow feel different. But deep inside, there is a part of you that is tired. So tired. A part of you that wonders how much longer you can keep pretending that everything is okay. And that is why I am speaking to you now. Because I refuse to remain silent while your heart is hurting. I refuse to watch you walk deeper into discouragement without reminding you who you are. I refuse to let fear speak louder than my love. Listen carefully. There is something you have not been able to see. Something happening beneath the surface of your life. Something moving behind the scenes while you have been worrying, waiting, questioning, and wondering whether I have forgotten you. I have not forgotten you. Not for a single moment. Not during the nights when you felt alone. Not during the mornings when getting out of bed felt like a battle. Not during the days when you smiled for everyone else while carrying pain nobody knew about. I was there. I saw every tear. I heard every silent prayer. I noticed every moment when your heart cried out, even when your lips said nothing. And now I need you to stay with me, because what I am about to show you could change the way you see everything. The pain, the delay, the disappointment, the unanswered questions, even the things you thought were breaking you. You have been looking at them from one side, but I see the whole picture. And before this day ends, I want you to see what I see. So do not rush away. Do not let distractions pull you from this moment. Take a breath, open your heart, and stay with me until the end. Because what you thought was the end of your strength may actually be the beginning of your restoration. And what you feared was the closing of your story may be the very place where a new chapter is about to begin. My child, there is something I need you to know. You have not suffered alone. I know there were moments when it felt that way. Moments when you looked around and wondered if anyone truly understood what was happening inside you. Moments when you smiled because it was easier than explaining the heaviness in your heart. Moments when you said, "I'm okay," because you were too exhausted to tell the truth. But I saw it all. I saw the pain you stopped talking about. I saw the wounds you buried so deeply that even you began pretending they no longer existed. I saw the disappointment that settled quietly inside you after prayers seemed unanswered. I saw the heartbreak you carried after people let you down. I saw the loneliness that followed you into rooms full of people. And I saw the tears you refused to let anyone witness. My child, I was there. I was there on the nights when sleep would not come. The nights when your mind would not stop racing. The nights when you stared into the darkness, replaying conversations, mistakes, fears, and unanswered questions. You wondered why your heart felt so heavy. You wondered why everything seemed harder than it used to be. You wondered if anyone noticed how tired you really were. I noticed. Every single time. I saw you fighting battles nobody knew existed. I saw you carrying responsibilities that felt too heavy. I saw you giving strength to everyone around you while feeling empty yourself. I saw you encouraging others while secretly needing encouragement. I saw you helping others heal while your own wounds remained untouched. And what broke my heart most was watching you convince yourself that you had to carry all of it alone, You were never meant to. You were never created to bear every burden by yourself. Yet somewhere along the way, you stopped reaching out. Not because you stopped caring, not because you stopped believing, but because disappointment taught you to stay silent. You stopped sharing certain hurts because you were afraid nobody would understand. You stopped talking about certain wounds because explaining them felt exhausting. You stopped hoping for certain things because hope itself had become painful. So instead, you learned how to survive. You learned how to function while hurting. You learned how to smile while struggling. You learned how to keep moving while carrying pain that nobody could see. But survival was never meant to become your permanent home. Listen to me carefully. The fact that you have been hurting does not mean you are weak. The fact that you have cried does not mean you are failing. The fact that you feel tired does not mean you are losing. It means you are human, and it means you have been carrying far more than anyone realizes. I know about the disappointment you never fully recovered from, the prayer that seemed unanswered, the relationship that broke your trust, the opportunity that slipped away, the dream that felt delayed, the season that lasted longer than you thought you could endure. I know about all of it, and I know something else. You have been blaming yourself for things that were never your fault to carry. You have been questioning your worth because of outcomes you could not control. You have been measuring your value by your circumstances instead of by my love. My child, that was never the truth. Your value has never changed. Not on your worst day. Not after your greatest mistake. Not during your weakest moment. Not even now. I still see the beautiful heart I created. I still see the kindness you offer others. I still see the strength that keeps getting back up. I still see the courage that refuses to completely give up. Even now. Especially now. Because while you have been focused on how much you hurt, I have been looking at how much you have survived. You are still here. You are still standing. You are still listening. And that tells me something important. There is still hope inside you. There is still faith beneath the exhaustion. There is still a light inside you that darkness has not been able to extinguish. But there is something I need to show you next. Something deeper. Because the pain itself is not the greatest danger. What concerns me most is what that pain has slowly been teaching you to believe about yourself. And if those lies are not confronted, they will continue shaping the way you see your future. So stay close to me, my child. Because we are about to uncover the thoughts that have been quietly stealing your peace. My child, there is something I need you to know. You have not suffered alone. I know there were moments when it felt that way. Moments when you looked around and wondered if anyone truly understood what was happening inside you. Moments when you smiled because it was easier than explaining the heaviness in your heart. Moments when you said, "I'm okay," because you were too exhausted to tell the truth. But I saw it all. I saw the pain you stopped talking about. I saw the wounds you buried so deeply that even you began pretending they no longer existed. I saw the disappointment that settled quietly inside you after prayers seemed unanswered. I saw the heartbreak you carried after people let you down. I saw the loneliness that followed you into rooms full of people, and I saw the tears you refused to let anyone witness. My child, I was there. I was there on the nights when sleep would not come, the nights when your mind would not stop racing, the nights when you stared into the darkness, replaying conversations, mistakes, fears, and unanswered questions. You wondered why your heart felt so heavy. You wondered why everything seemed harder than it used to be. You wondered if anyone noticed how tired you really were. I noticed. Every single time. I saw you fighting battles nobody knew existed. I saw you carrying responsibilities that felt too heavy. I saw you giving strength to everyone around you while feeling empty yourself. I saw you encouraging others while secretly needing encouragement. I saw you helping others heal while your own wounds remained untouched. And what broke my heart most was watching you convince yourself that you had to carry all of it alone. You were never meant to. You were never created to bear every burden by yourself. Yet somewhere along the way, you stopped reaching out. Not because you stopped caring. Not because you stopped believing. But because disappointment taught you to stay silent. You stopped sharing certain hurts because you were afraid nobody would understand. You stopped talking about certain wounds because explaining them felt exhausting. You stopped hoping for certain things because hope itself had become painful. So instead, you learned how to survive. You learned how to function while hurting. You learned how to smile while struggling. You learned how to keep moving while carrying pain that nobody could see. But survival was never meant to become your permanent home. Listen to me carefully. The fact that you have been hurting does not mean you are weak. The fact that you have cried does not mean you are failing. The fact that you feel tired does not mean you are losing. It means you are human. And it means you have been carrying far more than anyone realizes. I know about the disappointment you never fully recovered from, the prayer that seemed unanswered, the relationship that broke your trust, the opportunity that slipped away, the dream that felt delayed, the season that lasted longer than you thought you could endure. I know about all of it, and I know something else. You have been blaming yourself for things that were never your fault to carry. You have been questioning your worth because of outcomes you could not control. You have been measuring your value by your circumstances instead of by my love. My child, that was never the truth. Your value has never changed. Not on your worst day, not after your greatest mistake, not during your weakest moment, not even now. I still see the beautiful heart I created. I still see the kindness you offer others. I still see the strength that keeps getting back up. I still see the courage that refuses to completely give up. Even now, especially now, because while you have been focused on how much you hurt, I have been looking at how much you have survived. You are still here. You are still standing. You are still listening. And that tells me something important. There is still hope inside you. There is still faith beneath the exhaustion. There is still a light inside you that darkness has not been able to extinguish. But there is something I need to show you next, something deeper, because the pain itself is not the greatest danger. What concerns me most is what that pain has slowly been teaching you to believe about yourself. And if those lies are not confronted, they will continue shaping the way you see your future. So stay close to me, my child, because we are about to uncover the thoughts that have been quietly stealing your peace. My child, I need you to understand something important. You did not arrive at this place all at once. You did not wake up one morning and suddenly feel exhausted. You did not lose hope in a single day. It happened little by little, quietly, almost invisibly, like a candle burning lower each night, like a river slowly wearing away stone, like a heart growing tired after carrying too much for too long. That is why it was so difficult for you to notice. You kept telling yourself that you were okay. You kept moving forward. You kept showing up. You kept doing what needed to be done, and because you were still functioning, you assumed you were still strong. But deep inside, something was changing. Not your faith, not your value, not your purpose, your hope. Little by little, disappointment was teaching you to expect less. You prayed, and nothing seemed to happen. You waited, and nothing seemed to change. You hoped, and life did not unfold the way you expected. So your heart began protecting itself, not from danger, from disappointment. You stopped believing boldly. You stopped dreaming freely. You stopped expecting joy. You stopped anticipating good news. Without realizing it, you began preparing yourself for the worst instead of believing for the best. My child, that is how hope begins to fade. Not through one great tragedy, but through 1,000 small discouragements. A prayer that seemed unanswered. A door that remained closed, a relationship that did not heal, an opportunity that disappeared, a season that lasted longer than expected, one disappointment after another, one delay after another, one struggle after another, and eventually a person becomes tired, not physically, spiritually, emotionally, deeply. I saw it happening. I saw the way your heart became cautious. I saw the way your expectations became smaller. I saw the way your excitement faded. I saw the way your prayers changed. You still spoke to me, but there were moments when your words carried less expectation than before. Moments when you asked, but no longer believed anything could change. Moments when you hoped, but secretly prepared yourself to be disappointed again. And that is exactly what the enemy wanted, because he knows something. He does not need to destroy you in one moment. He only needs to convince you that nothing will ever get better. He does not need to make you hate life. He only needs to make you stop expecting good from it. He does not need to take away your faith completely. He only needs to weaken your hope. Because a heart without hope becomes vulnerable to despair. A heart without hope becomes vulnerable to fear. A heart without hope begins settling for less than what it was created for. My child, you came closer to that place than you realize. There were moments when you wondered if anything would ever change. Moments when you questioned whether your efforts mattered. Moments when you felt as though you were walking through the same struggles over and over again. You grew tired. And I understand why. You carried burdens longer than expected. You fought battles longer than expected. You endured waiting longer than expected. But listen carefully. The fact that you felt weary does not mean you were failing. The fact that you struggled does not mean you were weak. The fact that you questioned does not mean you lost your faith. It means you were human, and even in those moments, I never stopped watching over you. When your hope became fragile, I guarded it. When your strength became thin, I sustained it. When you wanted to quit, I quietly carried you farther than you could have gone alone. There were days when you thought you were surviving by your own strength, but it was my hand holding you up. It was my grace keeping you moving. It was my love protecting the small flame inside your heart from being extinguished. Because even when you could not see it, that flame was still there, still burning, still alive, still waiting. And now, my child, I need to show you something that may surprise you. The delays that frustrated you, the closed doors that confused you, the disappointments that wounded you, many of them were not signs that I had abandoned you. They were signs that I was protecting you. And what you called rejection was often something very different in my eyes. Stay close, because what I am about to reveal may completely change the way you see your past. My child, there were many moments when you thought I was silent, moments when you questioned why a door remained closed, moments when opportunities slipped through your fingers, moments when plans fell apart, moments when people walked away, moments when your prayers seemed to rise into the heavens without an answer. And because you could not see the full picture, you assumed I had forgotten you. You assumed I was delaying you. You assumed I was withholding something good. But today, I want you to see those moments differently. Because many of the things that hurt you were not signs of my absence. They were signs of my protection. You called it rejection. I called it protection. You called it a setback. I called it redirection. You called it loss. I called it rescue. My child, there were paths you desperately wanted to walk that would have wounded you more deeply than you can imagine. There were relationships you begged me to preserve that would have broken your spirit. There were opportunities you mourned that would have taken you far away from the purpose I created for you. There were doors you tried to force open that hid pain on the other side. You only saw what you wanted. I saw where it would lead. And because I love you, I could not let everything happen the way you wanted it to. I know that was difficult to understand. I know there were nights when you cried because something ended. I know there were days when you asked, "Why, God?" I heard every question. I heard every frustrated prayer. I heard every moment of confusion. And I was not angry with you. I understood your pain, because from where you stood, it looked like loss. But from where I stood, it looked like protection. There were people you trusted who were not meant to accompany you into your next season. Not because they were evil, not because they hated you, but because they could not go where I was leading you. Had they remained, they would have slowed your growth. They would have strengthened your fears. They would have kept you attached to an old version of yourself. So I removed what could not follow you, and I know that hurt. But not every departure is a punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. There were dreams that seemed delayed, dreams you prayed over, dreams you carried for years, dreams that appeared to disappear. You thought I was saying no. Many times I was saying, not yet, because timing matters. A seed planted at the wrong season struggles to grow. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A responsibility received before you are ready can crush what it was meant to strengthen. My child, while you were asking for the blessing, I was preparing the person who would carry it. I was strengthening your heart, expanding your wisdom, deepening your faith, teaching you things that success alone could never teach. You saw delay. I saw preparation. You saw waiting. I saw growth. You saw nothing happening. I saw everything developing beneath the surface. Just as roots grow before fruit appears, I was building things inside you before revealing what I had planned around you. And there is something else I need you to know. There were dangers you never saw, conversations that never happened, decisions you never made, mistakes you were prevented from making. Moments when my hand quietly redirected your steps, moments when I closed a door, moments before you walked through it, moments when I protected you from heartbreak you never knew existed. You will not fully understand all of it in this life. But one day you will look back and realize how many times my mercy stood between you and unnecessary pain, how many times my hand redirected your path, how many times my love protected you when you could not protect yourself. My child, if you could see everything I have seen, you would not call yourself forgotten. You would call yourself protected. You would not call yourself abandoned. You would call yourself guided. You would not call yourself unlucky. You would call yourself covered by grace. The story was never falling apart the way you imagined. I was writing chapters you could not yet read. I was arranging pieces you could not yet understand. I was guarding a future you could not yet see, and that future still exists. In fact, it is closer than you think. Because while you have been looking backward at what was lost, I have been preparing something ahead of you, something that will make sense of many tears, something that will reveal why certain doors had to close, something that will show you that I never stopped working. But before you can fully step into what is ahead, there is one thing I must help you recover. Something the enemy tried very hard to steal from you. Not your possessions, not your opportunities, not your success, your identity. And until you remember who you truly are, you will continue viewing your life through the lens of your wounds, instead of through the truth of my love. My child, if you are still listening to my voice right now, I do not believe it is by accident. Perhaps something in your heart needed to hear these words today. Perhaps you have been carrying burdens for too long. Perhaps you simply needed a reminder that you are not alone. Before we continue, I want you to take one small step of faith. Type these words in the comments. God, thank you for never giving up on me. Let it be more than a comment. Let it be a prayer. Let it be a declaration that even through every struggle, every delay, and every difficult season, God has remained faithful. And if this message is speaking directly to your heart, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. By doing so, you help these messages reach others who may be feeling lost, discouraged, or forgotten today. Now stay with me, because what God wants to show you next may be exactly what your heart has been waiting to hear. My child, for too long you have been looking at yourself through wounded eyes. You have been measuring your worth through your disappointments. You have been defining yourself by your struggles. You have been listening to the voice of pain more than the voice of truth. And because of that, you have started believing things about yourself that were never true. Pain told you that you are broken. Pain told you that you are weak. Pain told you that you are forgotten. Pain told you that you are not enough. Pain told you that your best days are behind you. But pain is not your creator. Pain does not get to define you. Pain does not have authority over your identity. I do. And now I need you to listen carefully to what I say about you, because the truth is stronger than every lie you have carried. You are not who your failures say you are. You are not who your fears say you are. You are not who your past says you are. You are not who your wounds say you are. You are who I say you are. And I say you are loved, deeply loved, not because you earned it, not because you performed well enough, not because you got everything right. You are loved because you are mine. Before anyone knew your name, I knew it. Before anyone believed in you, I believed in you. Before anyone saw potential in you, I placed that potential inside you. My child, there were moments when people misunderstood you, moments when they overlooked your heart, moments when they judged you by what they could see. But I have always seen deeper. I see the kindness you carry. I see the compassion you hide. I see the strength you do not even recognize in yourself. I see the battles you survived. I see the tears you wiped away before anyone noticed. I see the courage it took for you to keep going when giving up would have been easier. You call yourself weak. I call you resilient. You call yourself damaged. I call you healing. You call yourself lost. I call you guided. You call yourself ordinary. I call you chosen. There is a reason the enemy has worked so hard to attack your confidence. There is a reason he keeps reminding you of old mistakes. There is a reason he wants you focused on your weaknesses, because he knows something you have forgotten. He knows there is purpose inside you. He knows there is strength inside you. He knows there is light inside you. And if you ever fully see yourself the way I see you, many of the chains that have held you will begin to break. That is why I am speaking to you now, to remind you, not of who you were, not of what happened to you, but of who you truly are. You are not the rejection you experienced. You are not the betrayal you survived. You are not the disappointment you endured. You are not the mistakes you regret. Those things happened to you. They are not you. Do not confuse your experiences with your identity. A storm may pass over a mountain, but it does not become the mountain. A wound may touch your heart, but it does not become your heart. You have carried labels that I never gave you, labels like unworthy, forgotten, unlovable, broken beyond repair. My child, remove those labels. They were never from me. I see something entirely different when I look at you. I see someone still standing after countless battles. I see someone whose story is not finished. I see someone who has survived seasons that should have destroyed them. I see someone with a future, a purpose, a calling, a life that still contains beauty waiting to unfold. And I need you to begin seeing that person too, not someday, now. Because the moment you start believing the truth about who you are, everything begins to change. The way you think changes. The way you pray changes. The way you walk changes. The way you face challenges changes. And the way you view your future changes. My child, there is far more inside you than you realize. Far more strength, far more purpose, far more potential, far more hope. You have spent so much time looking at what was damaged that you forgot to notice what survived. But I have been watching it all along. The faith that remained, the courage that remained, the kindness that remained, the light that remained. And now I am calling that light forward. Because the next season of your life will require you to stop seeing yourself as a victim of what happened, and start seeing yourself as someone I am restoring, someone I am rebuilding, someone I am preparing. Someone I am leading into a future greater than they can currently imagine. And if you could see even a glimpse of what I see ahead, your heart would begin to hope again. Come closer, my child. Because I want to show you the future that almost slipped through your hands, and why it is still waiting for you. My child, now I want you to see something that you could not see before. I want you to look beyond the pain, beyond the waiting, beyond the disappointments, beyond the questions that have filled your mind for so long. I want you to see the future that was still waiting for you while you were fighting battles you thought would never end. Because there were moments when you came closer to giving up than anyone realized. Moments when your heart was so tired that continuing felt harder than quitting. Moments when disappointment whispered, "What's the point?" Moments when exhaustion told you that nothing would ever change. Moments when you considered settling for less because hoping for more felt too painful. I saw every one of those moments. And I need you to understand something. Had you listened to those voices, you would have walked away from things I was still preparing. You would have left before the breakthrough. You would have stopped before the healing. You would have surrendered before the restoration. You would have abandoned dreams that were closer than you thought. My child, there is a future ahead of you that your pain has not been able to erase. A future that still carries purpose. A future that still carries joy. A future that still carries peace. A future that still carries answers to prayers you have almost forgotten praying. You have spent so much time looking at what has not happened that you have overlooked what is still possible. You have focused on closed doors and missed the new paths forming in front of you. You have looked at delays and assumed nothing was moving. But heaven has never stopped working on your behalf. Even during the seasons when everything felt silent. Even during the days when you saw no evidence of progress. Even during the moments when your faith felt fragile, I was still moving, still arranging, still preparing, still opening doors at the right time. My child, there are people you have not met yet who will encourage your heart. There are conversations you have not had yet that will restore your confidence. There are opportunities you have not seen yet that will reveal why certain doors had to close. There are blessings you cannot imagine yet that will make sense of seasons that once confused you. Not because life will suddenly become perfect, but because I am still writing your story, and I am not finished. You almost walked away from the very chapter that would have shown you this. You almost allowed discouragement to convince you that the best parts of your story were behind you, but they are not. The best parts are still being written. There is healing ahead. Healing for wounds that have followed you for years. Healing for disappointments you still carry. Healing for fears you have hidden from everyone around you. There is peace ahead. Not temporary peace based on circumstances, but a deeper peace. A peace that remains even when life is uncertain. A peace that anchors your heart. There is purpose ahead. You were not created merely to survive one difficult season after another. You were created to live, to grow, to love, to impact others, to become everything I designed you to become. And there is joy ahead. Real joy. Not the kind that depends on everything going perfectly, but the kind that rises from knowing you are loved, guided, protected, and never alone. My child, the enemy wanted you to quit because he could not stop what I planned. He wanted you to give up because he could not cancel your purpose. He wanted you to walk away because he could not destroy the future I prepared. So instead, he tried to convince you that your future did not exist. But he lied. And now I need you to hear me clearly. Your future is still alive. Your purpose is still alive. Your calling is still alive. Your dreams are still alive. Even the ones buried beneath disappointment. Even the ones hidden beneath fear. Even the ones you stopped talking about. I have not forgotten them. And I have not forgotten you. The road ahead may not look exactly the way you imagined. Some things will unfold differently. Some answers will arrive in unexpected ways. Some blessings will come through doors you never considered. But that does not mean I have abandoned the promise. It means I am fulfilling it in a way greater than you can currently understand. So, do not look backward with regret. Do not stand still in fear. Do not allow yesterday's disappointments to define tomorrow's possibilities. Lift your eyes. Look ahead. Because there is movement where you thought there was none. There is hope where you thought it had disappeared. There is life where you thought everything had ended. And there is something happening right now that you may not fully recognize. A shift has already begun inside you. The heart that was losing hope is beginning to hope again. The spirit that was growing weary is beginning to rise again. The future that seemed distant is beginning to draw near. And what happens next may become the turning point you have been waiting for all along. My child, for a long time you have been looking at your circumstances and wondering if anything would ever be different. You have prayed, you have waited, you have endured, and sometimes it felt as though the landscape of your life never changed. The same struggles, the same questions, the same battles, the same waiting. And because the season lasted longer than you expected, you began to believe it would last forever. But listen to me carefully. Seasons do not last forever. Winter does not remain forever. Night does not remain forever. Storms do not remain forever, and neither will this season. I know there were days when you felt trapped inside your circumstances. Days when you wondered whether progress was even possible. Days when you looked around and saw no evidence that anything was moving. But change often begins before it becomes visible. The seed begins growing long before it breaks through the soil. The dawn begins long before the sun appears above the horizon. And healing often begins long before the pain fully disappears. That is where you are right now. You keep looking for dramatic signs, but I want you to notice something else. Notice the small changes. Notice the way your heart is responding differently than it once did. Notice the strength that has quietly grown inside you. Notice the wisdom you have gained through the struggle. Notice how things that once destroyed you no longer have the same power over you. Something is shifting. Something is changing. Something is moving. You may not see the entire picture yet, but the season is already beginning to turn. The person who entered this difficult season is not the same person standing here today. You have been refined. You have been strengthened. You have been prepared. You have learned things in this valley that you could never have learned on the mountaintop. You have discovered endurance. You have discovered patience. You have discovered dependence on me. And while none of that felt pleasant, it has produced something valuable inside you. My child, there are blessings that could not arrive until certain lessons were learned. Not because I wanted to make you suffer, but because I wanted to prepare you to sustain what was coming. The next season requires a stronger version of you, a wiser version, a healed version, a version that trusts me more deeply than before. And that version is emerging right now. There were times when you thought you were falling apart. In reality, many things were falling into place. There were times when you thought you were being abandoned. In reality, you were being redirected. There were times when you thought your story was ending. In reality, a new chapter was being prepared. Something is shifting. The fear that once controlled you is losing its grip. The hopelessness that once weighed you down is beginning to loosen. The confusion that clouded your vision is beginning to clear. And though the transformation may seem slow, it is real. Do not underestimate what I can do through small daily changes. A river carves through stone not because of power in a single moment, but because of steady movement over time. And I have been moving in your life far more than you realize. My child, there are prayers you thought I forgot. I did not. There are promises you thought were lost. They are not. There are dreams you buried because disappointment convinced you they would never happen. I still remember them. And I am still able to bring life to things you thought were gone forever. Lift your eyes. Stop measuring your future by your current circumstances. Stop measuring tomorrow by yesterday's pain. Stop assuming that because the season has been difficult, the next one will be the same. The story is changing. The atmosphere is changing. Your perspective is changing. Your heart is changing. Something is shifting. Something is changing. Something is moving. And one day soon, you will look back on this season and realize it was not the place where your life stopped. It was the place where your transformation began. But as the season changes, there is something you must be careful not to do. Do not return to the person I have been helping you leave behind. Do not rebuild the chains I have been breaking. Do not walk back into the patterns that once kept you trapped, because what lies ahead is too valuable to sacrifice for what I have already delivered you from. Come closer, my child. There is one final warning I need you to hear before you step fully into what is next. My child, now that your eyes are beginning to see differently, there is something I need to tell you with great urgency. Do not go back. Do not go back to the person you used to be. Do not return to the place where fear ruled your decisions. Do not return to the mindset that convinced you nothing would ever change. Do not return to the version of yourself that lived only to survive, because you have come too far to turn around now. I know the familiar can feel comfortable, even when it hurts, even when it limits you, even when it keeps you trapped. There is something about old patterns that tries to pull you back. Old habits, old fears, old wounds, old ways of thinking. When life becomes difficult, there is always a temptation to return to what feels familiar, even if what is familiar is unhealthy. That is why I am speaking to you now, because as your season changes, the enemy will try one last strategy. He will try to convince you that you have not changed at all. He will remind you of old failures. He will bring old fears back to the surface. He will whisper old lies into your mind. He will try to make you believe that growth never happened, that healing never happened, that progress never happened. But do not believe him. You are not the same person who entered this storm. You are not the same person who cried those tears. You are not the same person who felt abandoned and hopeless. You have learned too much. You have survived too much. You have grown too much. My child, there were lessons hidden inside your struggles. Lessons about trust. Lessons about patience. Lessons about courage. Lessons about surrender. And those lessons were not given to you so you could return to your old ways. They were given to prepare you for what comes next. Do not rebuild what I have been helping you tear down. Do not return to relationships that constantly pull you away from peace. Do not return to thought patterns that keep you chained to fear. Do not return to believing you are unworthy of good things. Do not return to speaking against yourself. Do not return to agreeing with lies that I have already exposed. The person you used to be was carrying burdens alone. The person you are becoming walks with me. The person you used to be expected disappointment. The person you are becoming expects my faithfulness. The person you used to be saw only obstacles. The person you are becoming is beginning to see possibilities. The person you used to be defined life through pain. The person you are becoming is learning to see through hope. My child, transformation requires a decision to stop looking backward, A decision to stop identifying with old wounds. A decision to stop living as though the past still owns you, because it does not. The mistakes are behind you. The failures are behind you. The seasons that almost broke you are behind you. Learn from them. Remember what they taught you, but do not live there. Your future cannot be built while your heart remains trapped in yesterday. I am calling you forward. Forward into healing. Forward into freedom. Forward into purpose. Forward into the life I have been preparing for you. And every step forward will require you to release another piece of the old version of yourself. Do not be afraid of that. You are not losing yourself. You are discovering who you truly are. The old chapter is closing. The old mindset is fading. The old chains are breaking. And the person emerging from this season is stronger, wiser, and more prepared than you realize. But before we finish, there is one truth I need you to carry deep within your heart. A truth that will sustain you long after this message ends. A truth the enemy has tried desperately to make you forget. My child, through every season, every struggle, every delay, and every battle, there is one thing that has never changed. I never stopped choosing you. My child, before this message comes to an end, there is one truth I need you to carry with you. A truth stronger than your fears, stronger than your doubts, stronger than your disappointments, stronger than every painful memory you have carried. It is this: I never stopped choosing you. Not once. Not on the days when your faith felt strong, and not on the days when it felt weak. Not when you felt close to me, and not when you felt distant. Not when you were confident, and not when you were struggling. My choice was never based on your perfection. It was never based on your performance. It was never based on how strong, faithful, successful, or confident you felt. I chose you because I love you, and my love has never changed. My child, there were moments when you thought you had disappointed me, moments when you felt ashamed, moments when you wondered whether you had wandered too far. But every time you thought I was pulling away, I was moving closer. Every time you felt unworthy, I was reminding heaven of your value. Every time you felt forgotten, I was still calling your name. You may have doubted yourself, but I never doubted you. You may have questioned your future, but I never questioned the purpose I placed inside you. You may have lost confidence in your ability to continue, but I never lost confidence in what I could do through you. My child, look back for a moment. Look at everything you have survived. The battles, the heartbreaks, the disappointments, the delays, the seasons that seemed impossible. You are still here, and that is not an accident. You are still standing because my hand has remained upon your life. You are still moving because my grace has carried you. You are still breathing because your story is not finished. There is still purpose ahead. There is still healing ahead. There is still joy ahead. There is still life ahead. And none of that has changed, simply because the road became difficult. The truth is that I saw your future long before you saw your struggles. I knew every storm before it arrived. I knew every tear before it fell. I knew every battle before it began. And knowing all of that, I still chose you. I still called you. I still loved you. I still planned a future for you. So hear me now, my child. When fear tells you that you are alone, remember that I chose you. When doubt tells you that you are not enough, remember that I chose you. When your past tries to define you, remember that I chose you. When life becomes difficult again, remember that I chose you. Because through every season, every victory, every failure, every question, and every uncertainty, one thing has remained constant. I have never stopped choosing you, and I never will. My child, if there is one thing I want you to remember after this message, it is this. This is not the end of your story. I know there were moments when it felt like the final chapter. Moments when the pain seemed too deep. Moments when the waiting seemed too long. Moments when the disappointment felt too heavy to carry any further. You looked at your circumstances and wondered whether anything good could still come from them. You looked at your wounds and wondered whether they would ever heal. You looked at your future and struggled to see anything beyond the struggle. But I have been standing at the other side of this season all along. And what I see is not an ending. I see a beginning. I see healing where you once saw brokenness. I see strength where you once saw weakness. I see purpose where you once saw confusion. I see hope where you once saw disappointment. My child, you have survived too much to quit now. You have come too far to turn back now. Every battle you endured taught you something. Every delay developed something inside you. Every tear watered seeds you could not yet see growing. Nothing was wasted. Not the pain, not the waiting, not the questions, not even the seasons you wish had never happened. I am able to bring beauty from places that once felt hopeless. I am able to bring purpose from seasons that seemed meaningless. I am able to restore what you thought was lost forever. So lift your head, take a deep breath, and stop speaking as though your story is over. The chapter that hurt you is not the chapter that defines you. The season that tested you is not the season that will define your future. There are still pages left to write. There are still prayers left to answer. There are still blessings left to receive. There are still miracles of healing, growth, peace, and restoration waiting ahead. My child, the road behind you may contain pain, but the road ahead still contains promise. Walk forward with me. Trust me one step at a time. And when fear tries to tell you that nothing will ever change, remember what I have told you today. You are loved. You are chosen. You are protected. You are being restored. And this is not the end of your story. In many ways, it is only the beginning. Heavenly Father, thank you for being with us through every season of life. Thank you for never abandoning us, even during the moments when we felt alone, confused, or afraid. Lord, today we place every burden into your hands, every fear, every disappointment, every wound, every unanswered question. We surrender them to you. Father, heal the places in our hearts that still carry pain. Restore the hope that has grown weak. Strengthen those who feel tired. Comfort those who are grieving. Encourage those who feel forgotten. Remind us that your love has never changed and your plans for us are still good. Help us trust you when we cannot see the whole picture. Help us walk by faith instead of fear. Help us release the past and embrace the future you are preparing for us. Lord, fill our minds with your peace. Fill our hearts with your presence. Fill our lives with renewed purpose and hope. Thank you for protecting us from dangers we never saw. Thank you for carrying us through battles we could not fight alone. And thank you for reminding us today that our story is not over. We choose to trust you. We choose to follow you. And we choose to believe that greater things are still ahead. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Before you leave, my child, I want you to do something simple but powerful. If this message spoke to your heart today, if you believe that God has not forgotten you, if you believe that your story is not over, if you are choosing hope over fear and faith over doubt, then write this declaration in the comments. God is not finished with me. Write it with faith. Write it as a reminder to your own heart. Write it as a declaration that your future still belongs to God. And if this message encouraged you, take a moment to support this mission. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss a message that may be exactly what your heart needs to hear. Most importantly, share this video with someone who feels tired, discouraged, or forgotten. You never know how one message can change someone's day, restore someone's hope, or remind someone that they are deeply loved. Remember this: you are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are chosen. You are protected. And your best chapter has not been written yet. May God bless you, guide you, and walk with you every step of the way.